Hi, Brent Bode here again from the Marquette PT Clinic, talking about common running errors that people tend to make and some things to make sure that you have in place to avoid those injuries. I want to talk about footwear now. So footwear, obviously this fits in the category of things that you need to have in place before you start running. So people may have heard about different types of shoes. If you're a pronator, an overpronator, a supinator, you need a neutral shoe, a cushion shoe, something like that. In general, I tend to not emphasize those things all that much. They've done some pretty extensive research about shoes and what works best for runners, and it's kind of funny, but what they found is the shoe that is the most comfortable for you is the one you should use. So it's great they spent all that money to figure that out. So with that in mind, I think the best way to go about finding a shoe that works well for you, find your local running shoe store and just go in and try on a fair number of pairs. I would say at least 4 to 5. Oftentimes they'll have a treadmill there or a track or something, and just run around in them and see what works well for you. I think it is important to think a little bit about that kind of stability shoe or cushion shoe, mostly in the sense of if you've used a cushion shoe before and you know that works well for you, maybe try to stay in that family. If you're looking at a different brand, maybe to try something different. So like I said, try on a lot of different shoes and find one that is the most comfortable for you. There's something else to think about is heel rise or heel drop. So what that is, and most shoes have this marked on them nowadays. Traditional running shoes, which this is my running shoe, this is more kind of fits in the category of traditional running shoes. They tend to be more of like an 8 to 12 millimeter drop, which what that means is how much higher the heel is compared to the forefoot. So like I said, most of shoes, more traditional running shoes, fit into that category. With the emphasis on more minimalist running and barefoot running, that became much more popular probably 10 years ago, not as popular these days. There was an emphasis on that zero drop shoe where the heel was at the exact same position as your forefoot, and that would help emphasize more of a forefoot strike pattern or a midfoot strike. So that's something to think about. I would say a good rule of thumb is don't make any drastic changes. So if you tend to be in more of a traditional running shoe like this, that is usually more of an 8 to 12 millimeter drop, which the shoe, oftentimes it says it right on the insole here, or you could ask somebody at your running shoe store, your salesman, and they should be able to walk you through it. If you are used to using a shoe like this, I wouldn't jump from 12 millimeters all the way to 0, because that's kind of asking for trouble. If you want to move to a shoe that is more of a zero drop shoe, you can do that, but I would do it more gradually, and there's some other things that maybe think about as you're going through that. They tend to be 12 millimeters, 8 millimeters, 4 millimeters, so they usually are in those type of increments with some variability. As far as the shoe goes, typically you can get about 300 to 500 miles out of a running shoe, and that varies a little bit depending on weight and what surface you run on. Oftentimes I have patients that haven't run in like a year, and they're like, well, I just started running on this pair of shoes and then I got injured, so I haven't run for like a year. I don't think I need new shoes. Shoes kind of do have a shelf life. So I would say even if you didn't put 300 to 500 miles on the shoe and they're over a year old, you probably should get a new pair of shoes anyways, because that's going to be able to avoid potential injuries also. Thanks a lot for watching this video. And if you do end up getting hurt and you're trying to implement all these things, obviously we're here for you to help. Please contact us, give us a call, email, and we'll try to figure out the best solution together. It might include an in-clinic visit or a telehealth visit.